Many movies have showcased legendary bank robberies. Dog Day Afternoon.
The most you're gonna get is 5 years. You get out in 1 year, huh?
Kiss me, man.
What?
Kiss me. When I'm being fucked, I like to get kissed a lot.
Come on.
Bonnie and Clyde.
Good afternoon, this is the Barrel Gang.
And even the gripping tale behind Stockholm Syndrome. But what if I told you a real-life story where a brilliant individual, influenced by films, became one of the most infamous bank robbers in American history? This is the tale of Scott Scurlock, also known as the Hollywood Bandit. Scott William Scurlock was born in Fairfax County, Virginia, on March 5, 1955. A handsome and intelligent man, Scott's life took many turns before he became the Hollywood Bandit. He topped the FBI's most wanted list, using elaborate disguises to pull off his heists. With makeup, wigs, and other props, he was unrecognizable, even to his own family and friends, forming a perfect facade to protect his identity. Growing up, Scott often sought shortcuts to make money, a trait that later defined his criminal career. An incident from his youth involved stealing a van from a local daycare center for a joyride to the beach. His father was the first to sound the alarm when these tendencies persisted into adulthood. Scott's journey into crime began in Hawaii in 1974, where he moved with his friend Steve Myers, one of his accomplices who later helped him rob more than 18 banks in Seattle in the 1990s. Working at a company called Hawaii Plant Life and Privacy Fences, Scott soon turned to cultivating marijuana. His first major misstep came when he tried to grow marijuana on a tomato farm, leading to his eviction. In 1978, at Evergreen State College, Scott met his dear friend and the accomplice for his first bank robbery, Mark Biggins. Scott's chemistry skills led him to produce methamphetamine in the college lab. Although profitable, this venture ended when he was expelled from school. Using his earnings, he bought land in Olympia, Washington, where he built a secluded 3-story treehouse with modern amenities, reflecting his dual life of luxury and lawlessness. The treehouse was an echo of Scott's inner being. It was his haven, and also indicative of his intelligence, recklessness, and an endless hunger for adrenaline. During the 1990s in Seattle, Washington, the computer revolution was in full swing, with tech entrepreneurs investing billions into the booming local economy. To accommodate the newfound wealth, banks opened branches all over Seattle. However, neighborhood convenience also meant more opportunity for theft. Scott's journey into bank robbery was inspired by his fascination with heist films, with Point Break in particular, providing a new thrill, an adrenaline rush. Fueled by this thrill, Scott devised a plan to rob banks.
Everybody freeze! Everybody move! Keep your hands up and your eyes down!
On the afternoon of June 25, 1992, Scott and his friend Mark Biggins donned masks for their first heist at Sea First Bank in the Madison Park neighborhood of Seattle. Following his MO, Scott entered the bank alone confidently and eventually followed Mark Biggins. The two armed men threatened to shoot anyone who did not comply with their demands. After the bag was filled, they demanded car keys from one of the customers they had watched pull up. They warned the tellers not to hit the alarm, or they would return and kill someone. Their meticulous plan, though risky, led them to escape with $19,971. Despite Biggins' anxiety, this success cemented Scott's path as a career bank robber. While Biggins quit after the first heist, Scott's adrenaline rush pushed him to continue. He later recruited Kevin Myers, who declined, but Kevin's brother, Steve Myers, joined Scott. Their operations became more sophisticated, including the use of a police scanner to avoid detection. Seattle was plagued by hundreds of bank robberies. Most of the thieves were caught, but one continued to elude the FBI. Wearing a disguise, he stole millions and threatened to kill anyone who got in his way. With no leads and little evidence, agents feared the only way to stop him was to catch him in the act. 7 weeks passed with no leads. Then, on Friday, August 14th, 1992, Sea First Bank was robbed again. Though the thief struck alone, wearing a new disguise, one of the tellers believed it was the same man. He appeared to be wearing theatrical makeup. His take was $9,613, and it was just the beginning. It was Scott's third robbery. Over the next 3 months, the same man hit 4 more Seattle area banks, with a total collection of $551,244 from all the robberies. Scott's heists only got more daring and sophisticated over time. He meticulously studied bank routines and enlisted insider help, leading to yet another audacious robbery. On January 27, 1995, he struck the C First Madison Bank, walking away with a staggering $252,466. This brought his total loot to an astonishing $938,077. Chasing the thrill of the moment, driven by impulse and the craving for adventure, was satiating Scott's hunger for a rush. But living on the edge without thinking ahead often spirals into chaos. The path he had chosen wasn't going to benefit him for long. Scott's notoriety grew, earning him the nickname Hollywood due to his movie-inspired tactics and disguises, including prosthetics and meticulous planning. Authorities, puzzled by his methods, speculated he might be a law enforcement officer himself. Despite the risks, Scott's operations continued, often narrowly avoiding capture due to his keen anticipation of police moves. Scott Scurlock had robbed a total of 19 banks between 1992 and 1996. But how far would his luck stretch? For how many more daring escapades could he slip through the cracks? The police, frustrated by his growing notoriety among the public, knew they had to do something more advanced. They started analyzing every detail of his heists, the dates, times, locations, and sums of money. By then, they knew Scott would strike again. On November 27, 1996, Scott, along with Mark Biggins and Steve Myers, planned an audacious run involving multiple banks in one night. Scott successfully robbed the first bank and fled the scene before the police could arrive. The same happened for the second robbery, but greed for the third one ended it all. It was the C First Bank in Lake City. The police had installed cameras and secret alarms known only to the police and bank staff. The moment Scott struck, the alarms were activated. The plan was thwarted when Scott realized the banknotes had electronic tracers. The police began following the tracers, unsure if it was Hollywood who had committed the robbery. Multiple Seattle police stations were alerted. It was officially a police chase. Special Agent Sean Johnson responded to the call from the bank. Based on the description, Hollywood had just robbed a bank. Scott and his accomplices soon realized they had tracers on them and tried to get rid of them. They found one and threw it out on the street, but couldn't locate the second among the pile of cash. After several minutes of crisscrossing the main roads, the police followed the second tracer and pulled up behind a white van. The van had dark tinted windows, and the driver ignored the emergency lights and pulled away. The police knew Hollywood would be carrying a 9mm Glock. Hollywood knew they were behind him and slowly came to a stop. When they got out, all they saw was a person holding a rifle. The chase had turned into a firefight on the night before Thanksgiving 1996. The police fired shots at the van, hitting Steve. Scott immediately pulled over the van and absconded down an alley, leaving Steve and Mark behind, who were later arrested by the police. On November 28th, the police finally tracked Scott. Mark and Steve had spilled about their heists and the real identity of Hollywood. After the shootout, the police and local residents were alerted about Hollywood. He was on television. Everyone was looking out for the man of the hour. A call came in.
I think that bank robber might be hiding in my camper in the backyard.
The man's house was near the shooting scene. Officers were dispatched to the camper. There were army officials, helicopters, and nearly 100 law enforcement officers. A group of officers began pounding on the camper, breaking the glass when a gunshot was heard. The officers retaliated, firing 72 rounds. Scott had killed himself. The first sound of the shot was him shooting himself. In a final act befitting his Hollywood-inspired persona, the man who stole from banks and borrowed from the silver screen scripted his own tragic ending. His life, a screenplay of crime and illusion, concluded not with a dramatic escape, but with a self-inflicted final scene, proving that no matter how many masks one wears, the shadows of reality will always prevail over the lights of fiction. Steve Myers was released from prison on December 6, 2014, and is believed to be living in New Iberia, Louisiana. His life of crime is behind him, but he offers interesting insights into the years leading up to the botched robbery and shootout. Scott Scurlock's story is a compelling mix of brilliance and criminal audacity, influenced by a fascination with Hollywood heists. His life and crimes, captured in How to Rob a Bank, offer a thrilling yet cautionary tale of how far someone can go, driven by the allure of the perfect crime. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the life of Scott Scurlock. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe and hit the notification bell for more intriguing tales from history and beyond.